this is Dr. Mike McKinney, Promise Live TV, and each week we endeavor to bring you a very interesting program and this time it's called Unsung Heroes. We try to bring people that have been in the war, or people who have been through supporting and defending our nation, and we believe need the proper recognition at this time. And today in studio we have a special guest, our good friend Al Schwarting, Lieutenant Al Schwarting.
Yes,
nice to have you on the program today.
Same here,
and,
sir.
Brother Al is going to be talking about mainly his brother, Hugh Cameron, who was a World War II person in the Army Air Corps, and his experiences flying many bombing missions. We'll let Al tell you about that today and talk about his brother. I think you'll find this program very interesting. We welcome you to the show today, Al, and thank you. And I'm very excited about you being here, but more importantly, we want to talk about your brother, Hugh Cameron, today. Isn't that right?
Yes. Yeah, because he's a very interesting man. Well, first he was born, I got some notes here.
Oh, sure.
To make sure I don't mess up.
No, that's all right.
Mr. Cameron was born in 1916 in El Paso, Texas. His father had passed away about 3 months before he was born. They were newlyweds. My mother was 15 years old, and he was a superintendent of the smelter
plant.
Yeah, the Guggenheim smelter.
Oh.
Okay. Well, he was left an orphan right from the start.
Oh.
And being a young girl, it was hard for her to get a job. Mm-hmm. So the only thing she could get was with the railroad, working at their restaurants that they had on the travel.
Oh, I see.
And my grandmother had to raise my brother while they handled the finances.
I see.
So that went on to 1928.
So here was a single mom raising this young boy. They were left when the father passed away, and so she had to go to work in order to support her son. So Grandma kind of raised you in the beginning, is that right?
That's right. And by then they had moved to San Pedro, California.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and Mom said she never, she said she never wanted to see El Paso again.
I can imagine.
It was so rough in those days for ladies. Yeah. And then, when everything started to go right, bang, the Depression.
Oh my goodness.
And my brother was with my grandmother, and they were short of money, and they used to have to go out and sell newspapers. And then they would go to the ships, and my brother would sing, and they would give him an extra dime or a nickel and all that.
Oh, I see. Now, this was all during the Depression.
Yeah. And he told me, he said, I said, a dime? He said, Al, he called me Al. Yeah. He said, Al, when you don't have any money, a dime is $1 million.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I'm sure.
So
that's right.
He did that. He went to work. He worked his South through high school, went on to junior college, played baseball.
My goodness.
Yeah, he was an excellent baseball player. He lettered at Cal State, not Cal State LA, but LA City College.
LA
City College at that time.
At that time, yes.
They had a sports program. They've canceled it now.
Yes.
And then he enrolled at UCLA, but he never followed through because he went and tried out for the Wrigley Field in Catalina for the Cubs.
For the professional teams.
Yeah. And he got 3 for 3 with this kid, and the kid got mad.
Oh.
But he didn't do it on purpose. But you know how you throw a brushback pitch?
Yeah.
And the kid had one of those 90-mile-an-hour. He hit him right in the face.
Oh.
And smashed his face in.
Oh.
And my mom said they didn't know he was going to live for 3 days.
My goodness.
And then I'm giving you a background to see the roughness that these people had to live through.
How he grew up in such hardship, difficulty,
And right from then, the Germans went on their little trouble in Europe, so he knew World War II was coming. He enrolled in the United States Air Force.
Right.
And he went to...
Which was the Army Air Corps at that time.
Yes. I have a picture of it here.
Oh, yes. Let's show the camera.
Yes.
Your camera, yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is him.
He's a pretty handsome dude there, you know.
Yes, and he was supposed to be an air medal, but the guy didn't know how to do it, so he paid
He didn't understand about the decorations and the citations.
No, so he gave him the Purple Heart.
Which he did have that anyway.
Yes, he had the little tip of his ear shot and the little tip of his finger. But he set up at 20,000 feet. He knew it wasn't going to bleed.
So World War II started, and Hugh right away joined the Army Air Corps and left
a year before.
Yeah, left college and went right into the service when the war started.
Yeah, actually he was there a year.
Wow.
And he did so good as a gunner that they made him he could have sat out the war as an instructor.
Yes.
He tried to transfer 3 or 4 times and they wouldn't do it. But his commanding officer got promoted and they transferred him.
Right.
And when they did that, he got smart. He went up and filled out a card right away before the guy took it to him, and he said, "Oh yeah, Mr. Cameron, and they transferred him to a fighting squadron."
He wanted to see some action, didn't he?
Oh, he wanted action bad. He said, "All of us did. We didn't enjoy to sit around on our rumps."
Yeah.
If he did, he could have done it.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing: he found a group, and they put them together. They were all Christians.
You mean the entire flight crew were Christians?
They were all Christians.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
Yes, and of course they say through gunner. He graduated top gunner, but he also went through and became a flight chief, and they offered him a lieutenant if he would be a ground crew. He said, No, I'm staying with these boys.
He wanted to be with the guys, yeah.
And they went over to North Africa first.
Okay.
And he told me, all this stuff that they wrote about, you've seen the thing about air support and all that, the fighter squad. He said, I'd like to see them.
Yeah.
he said, hey, when he bombed to Pulesti.
That was a famous bombing aerial attack on that place.
He was on the second one.
Really, I saw just a documentary the other day about that on the History Channel about that. Yeah.
He told me. He said, they hit Pulesti and then they came back and hit the Messerschmitt factory at Regensburg.
Oh, that was another famous battle.
Yeah. He said, we went into the battle and when they went through the flak, man, he said it was just black.
Oh, I can
when
imagine.
They came out, he said, gee, 300 Messerschmitts were waiting for them.
Oh my gosh.
And they weren't giving them Blockwurst.
No, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Well, how many missions altogether did Hugh fly in?
50 missions. 50
missions, wow.
Now, I want to say this. He flew with the 450 bomb group. And his squadron was his group that he was in, that was a squadron, 450. And 721 was his group that his planes.
His crew, yeah.
His crew. And by the way, his crew went through the war without just a few nicks.
That had to be God. Like you said, the entire crew were Christian. They must have been praying all this time.
Sure. But my brother wanted to come home fast, so he went in, and Colonel Davis liked him because he was such a good gunner and he was very fussy. He went over that airplane before they went up, and he checked it out.
Very thorough. Huh?
Very thorough. So he wanted him to go, and that's when they had a lot of. He was the lead plane, and they had a lot of. He had the co-pilot had his head blown off.
Mm-hmm.
My brother had the tip of his finger there, and there.
Right.
And I asked him. I said, "What? You could have got the for injury. They'll give you the Purple Heart."
Yeah.
And nobody told me. He said, "Al, they'd have laughed me out of the Air Force." He said, all kinds of guys. He said, when you're up at 20,000 feet, you don't bleed that much. Mm-hmm. So he knew it was no problem. He just put a bandage on it and kept right on fighting.
But we know he deserved something like that. We're sure he did.
Well,
but he got many decorations after that, didn't he?
Well, I'll read what he wrote in his thing here.
Please do, sure.
He flew 50 missions, Germany, France, and Pulesti oil fields, for which he received 9 air medals.
Oh my.
2 presidential citations, and a certificate of value from the commanding officer of the 15th Air Force. And he was discharged on July the 15th, 1945 to resume his singing. Before he had sung with the Guggenheim Orchestra and appeared on NBC's Great Artist variety shows. And
so another part of Hugh's life was not only the Depression, World War II, distinguishing himself in the Army Air Corps. Actually, he was a hero, and all these citations and presidential citations. But the interesting thing, besides him being a war hero, which he was, we understand that Hugh also sang with the big bands during the heyday.
Yeah, and see, this is the problem. A lot of the guys went into the service out of the Depression.
Right.
They never had a youth. And they're just getting started. Huey was just getting started in the musical industry.
Yeah.
After 5 years of overseas, when they came back, everything had changed.
A lot of changes took place.
And the music had changed. And he was a crooner.
Yeah.
And they had gone in with the smaller groups now and all this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something. It was hard for those young, they talk about today.
To adjust back to society and all
Well,
that.
I saw him and my brother, my uncle, who won the Bronze Star in Okinawa. Both of them would hang out at the bowling alley down there for about 2 or 3 years. And they would go to their GI school, come back, and they really, it took them that long
to get reestablished back into society and all that, right?
And I don't think to tell you the truth, neither one, I noticed, I had his buddies that would come around, none of them totally came back into society.
I see.
The
war and the results of the war had affected these men, and many of the men that came home, and it was difficult, in other words, for them to readjust to normal life again.
Well, here's 2 incidents. One, he saw this, he said, I saw the Focke-Wulf was out there just out of gun range.
Yes.
But my brother said, I got a little smart. He'd shoot the gun, and the bullet tracers would go out.
Right.
And then he would lower it. And he'd shoot again, and they would be lowered, so that he kept coming in closer. He said, I got it close where there was enough, and he hit it. And he said he hit a perfect blast. You could just see him blow the pilot right out of the plane.
I've seen pictures of that in some of the documentaries,
Right. And then another time, he shot the guy, and he said they knocked his head off. And Huey saw him coming. They had to duck. He took out his turret, knocked the rear air in. The B-24 had that there, and he knocked the right one off.
I see.
And they said it couldn't fly. He said, whoever said that was full of, I won't say it.
But they did fly anyway, regardless.
They flew it all the way back.
My gosh.
Then another time when he was with Mr. Davis, the bombs locked up in the thing with the spinners off, which they were loaded.
They could have been blowing up their own plane, right?
They had to fly back. But they told them parachute out, and they said we can't because they had an injured man.
So they couldn't leave him,
So they held the guy by his feet, and they formed a chain, and they took the spinner. My brother was the last one on it, and they threw it out the window of the B-24.
Yes.
And then they landed the plane. But my brother always got on Davis's back because he said, the guy down there handling the bomb should have got the Silver Star, not you, Colonel Davis.
Yeah, right. He probably agreed with that, too. I
don't know. He never said.
So Huey, actually, when he came home after World War II, and he had been a singer and just breaking into the musical industry with the big bands and all, and then finally, how long did it take him to finally start to readjust to normal life again, would you say?
I would say he never totally done it.
Okay.
He still was back. He used to tell me, I'm still back there. He said, to him, after all that, everything here was secondary, But he went back and he dedicated his Lord to the Lord again.
Yes.
And that's why when I held this up... I was
going to ask you about his faith,
Yes, he started singing Christian music.
Wow.
He wrote some Christian songs. He wrote quite a few of them.
And there was even a song you mentioned that he had sung or recorded that Walt Disney at one time was very interested in. Is that right?
Walt Disney, yes. But unfortunately for him, there's one thing about my brother. He sometimes he surprised me.
Yes.
Because if it was me, well, I would act a little different. But his manager went out and told Walt Disney. Walt Disney wanted him for a picture and a song.
Yeah.
I won't go into the picture of that.
All right.
And the lady actually stood up and said, "Well, you can have Hugh Cameron, but you got to take my other singer too."
Oh.
And my uncle was there, and he verified it to me.
Yeah.
He said, Walt Disney looked at her and said, "Ma'am, I want Mr. Cameron. I don't want your other singer."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Well, you can't have them unless you have both."
Oh.
And Walt Disney said, "I'm Walt Disney." He said,
He told her that. Huh?
He told her, Walt Disney, he said, "Sorry, lady, you're out."
He told her that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And my brother said, he said,
Whoa.
"I felt like taking a 50 caliber machine
no.
Yeah. He was mad as heck about the whole deal.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well, that shows how much he impressed Walt Disney with his singing and
Yeah.
his talent.
well, he sang in Vegas a few times.
Yeah.
And he went on the road, but he said you get tired of the road
Oh, I'm sure.
and you get tired of nightclubs.
Right. Well, when did he start recording gospel music? I noticed you have an album with you today too.
Well, he did it. I think this album was recorded, I'd say, around 1960.
All right.
I mean, he did it at the Four Square Church, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the background vocals were Teresa Hummel. Some of them know there.
Oh, they're very well known. Yes.
And the lady that helped him along on it was Audrey Meyer, you know.
Oh, of course. I met her many years ago.
Yeah. He said she was a nice lady.
Oh, sweet lady, a lovely person.
And,
yeah.
And I think
She was.
the guy that
I think she helped a lot of young
Scott
singers.
Steele was another man that helped him out.
Yes.
But yeah. Well, he spent his whole life after that in the church.
Right. He really came back to the Lord after everything, didn't he?
Yeah. He did, and it helped him. But he still, I'll tell you this: if a guy wanted to give him a push,
Yeah.
Huey wasn't as scared to take him on.
Because he had seen so much action and been through so many hair-raising experiences that probably a normal fear didn't exist anymore.
No.
Because he knew what real fear was.
And you know, this is funny. My brother was only about 160 pounds, but I used to be his helper, and then he broke me into we worked together in the water heater business up until I moved on to a different field.
I see.
And my brother could lift 300 pounds.
For a slightly built man, he was quite strong, right?
Super strong. Well, he gave that to baseball.
Yeah.
So he played center field.
Yep.
And
What a well-rounded out person he was. I mean, imagine, he was a very intelligent, a college person, a professional athlete, a professional band singer. Imagine that. A distinguished person in the Army Air Corps with all these citations, even from the two presidential citations, and then going on to sing gospel music. That's quite a person, you know.
Yeah.
No wonder you're proud of your brother, you know.
Well, yeah,
He was your big brother.
But you know what's more?
Yeah.
Is he was a part of an outfit. He didn't want the glory for himself.
No, he was part of the great generation, wasn't he, Al?
Yeah, he was to him it was the 450th bomb group.
It wasn't just him,
They were called the
right?
Cottontail.
Yeah.
And you know what he told me? This is funny.
All right.
He said, in the movie they always showed the Germans as a bunch of stupid individuals, and they're how the Americans outsmarted them.
Yeah, they're always bungling everything.
He said if they were so smart, before every mission, Axis Sally would come on the air and say, "Hello, Cottontails. We know today you're on your way to Schweinhofen, or you're on your way to Veneneustadt."
Sort of like Tokyo Rose, something like that.
But you'd give them the information, and then she would say, "Now we're waiting for you.
We're waiting for you. Oh my Lord!
And just in case you don't come back, we want to play." They play a love song to your girlfriend.
Oh, that's cruel, mean.
He said, but they laughed at it.
Yeah, sure. There was a lot of humor in that too. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
And he said, we flew over there, and they'd be hitting Messerschmitts at 50,
Oh, sure.
200, 300, 400 of them at a time.
Yeah.
He said, I never saw no fighters.
There wasn't any.
Not
So actually, they were bluffing in a lot of those broadcasts, right?
Well, see, I think most of that was out of England. The Miranda boys had to fly over the Alps. Or they had to fly over the Baltic.
That way. Yeah.
And they would have had, if the Russians would have been a real ally, he told me, he said a lot of our planes got shot up, but they couldn't fly back over the Baltic Sea.
Oh.
When they would crash in the sea, it was so cold, they would freeze to death.
Yeah, had that hypoglycemia, what do you call that? Yeah.
But the Russians told them if they flew into Russia,
Yeah.
they would shoot them down.
Oh, because that was their airspace, right? I
And see, he said, boy, we would have loved to have gone back in and bombed the heck out of them Reds.
I see.
Oh, yeah,
And Hugh was quite a patriot, wasn't he?
super.
Super patriot.
Yeah, that was another thing that I think bothered him was the Vietnam War. When he sat there and he said, we fought for that generation.
Yeah.
They're free to speak and do what they're doing.
That's right.
To burn the American flag.
Yeah, that bothered him, didn't it, Al?
Well, in the one mission to Pulaski, like I said, and to
Yes.
Regensburg, 1,500 men out of their squadron killed. That wasn't injured.
He saw all that, experienced it. Yeah.
Yeah, and those were people. He told me near the end. He said our squadron stuck together, our group stuck together,
Yeah.
and we never. He said I didn't really get to know the other guys because I didn't want to know them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, that's right.
And also, he told me when he came back from overseas, there was 500 of them went over. There was 200 of them that came
They
back.
came back, yeah.
On the ship. And he said, when they got off the ship in New York, he said, we didn't hear no bad. We didn't. Matter of fact, he said they were out there giving donuts.
Right.
But they were giving them to the officers.
Now, I know we only have a few minutes left with Al, but I know you're the baby brother, but did you guys become close later in life? Did you guys get pretty... There was a kind of a difference in ages.
We were very close when I was young. He was kind of like my folks had me at 40 years old, 42.
Yeah.
So him and my uncle would take us with them to go to movies and that.
Oh, I see.
And then we drifted apart.
Yeah.
And then in business we kind of disagreed. I tried to tell him, I said, you need something more than Social Security, and he didn't understand.
Yeah.
So I moved to another job, and
But you always loved him, and I know you admired him so much, even
then
today.
we got together.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one day we got arguing of all stupid things, politics. Hey, we got into them, we grabbed each other, and we looked at each other, and we both started crying, and we hugged, and that was the end of our feud.
That was it.
And that was about seven years before he passed away.
I'm glad you guys got it together. And another thing, too, Brother Al, one of the other beautiful things that happened to Huey, and thank God that you were able to receive that, he received some kind of an award from World War II from the country of France. Is that right?
Yes, sir. And before I want to give Councilman Patel and Sheila Crippen.
Okay.
Sheila, he sent me over, and she played a big role talking with the French council to give this. Yes.
My goodness!
Because they were given their high medal. But my brother was passed away, and they only gave it to somebody that was alive.
I see.
So she talked with him, and she showed him his record and everything.
Yes.
And see all these red things? Those are all the French ports that they bombed.
So he was awarded this posthumously.
Posthumously.
I see.
To our family.
Oh.
And by the French
and what does the French award stand for? What does it represent?
This stands for, well, they couldn't give the medal.
Okay.
But this stands for, I thank you for the courage and what you did for the French government to help turn the tide of the Nazi onslaught.
That's probably one of the highest awards they could give to a person,
Well, I'm honored by it.
Sure.
And I want to thank the French government now.
Sure.
If this is in France, I want to thank you guys for this award.
Yes.
Because my brother always felt that the 450th never got what they deserve.
The recognition.
See,
that
they all showed the airplanes from England. They never showed them from Italy, where they were getting the hell kicked. Good job.
But isn't this wonderful that posthumously this award to be granted at this particular time? And what a way to finish Huey's life.
Yeah.
And it puts a capstone on everything he's done.
And this will never, the French told me this was the last one they're giving.
You see that? How honored your brother was. And here, thank God that you're alive to receive that on his behalf.
Oh,
it's wonderful. You must have been thrilled when that happened.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I really was. I went to his grave and I told him.
You told him.
But I know
he knows. I think the Lord lets them know things, you know.
I hope so.
I think he knows.
Yeah, if I see him, when we see in heaven, I definitely.
You'll be definitely going to tell Huey about this award. Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, Brother Al, for sharing that. Brother Al, I want to thank you for being on the show today.
And I want to give credit to this, to the 450th.
Okay.
They didn't get the credit they should have.
Okay. Well, they're getting it today. It'll be seen by millions around the world. We want to appreciate Brother Al Schwarting talking about his brother Hugh Cameron, and we're so delighted to be able to talk about these great men from the greatest generation, as we know, from the Depression to World War II, and then later in life, helping to bring freedom and liberty that we, all of us, enjoy today in this nation. And I'm glad to know Brother Al, and that he had a brother that was so patriotic and distinguished himself to being such a marvelous example as he was to his little brother and to all of us here today. I want to thank you for tuning into our broadcast. We trust that you will see you again next time. So this is Dr. Mike McKinney, Promise Christian Live TV, saying God bless you real good.